Hey everybody, happy Friday, and thank you all for attending our virtual talk today. My name is Roman Matla, and my preferred pronouns are he and him. I'm the Director for Diversity and Employee Engagement at Google across Asia Pacific. I've spent the last almost 20 years in Singapore, where my family and I have made our home. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a wannabe barbecue chef with a website and all. I ride a classic Royal Enfield motorcycle just for kicks. We are so excited to be here as part of IAmRemarkable Week. IAmRemarkable is a Google initiative that strives to empower everyone, particularly women and underrepresented groups, to celebrate their achievements in the workplace and beyond. And we are thrilled to welcome Guneet Monga today, an Oscar-winning film producer, with us for a conversation on how she is using her position as one of the most influential women producers in India to facilitate change and normalize gender equality. Guneet, I'm going to hand it over to you for an introduction, please.
Hi, Roman. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at Google, for having me here at IAmRemarkable. I've been very excited to be here with all of you. And to introduce myself, I think I am a girl with dreams. Started from there. And I set up a company called Sikhya Entertainment 13 years ago. And in this short period of time, we've produced more than 40 films. I pinch myself of the events that happened in this 13 years. We've got a BAFTA nomination for one of our features called Lunchbox. We got nominated for the Oscar twice for 2 separate short films, and Period End of Sentence, which I'm so grateful to be part of, so honored to be a part of, that I executive produced, won the Oscar in 2019 as in the short doc category. And out of the films that I have produced, I've had several films premiere at Cannes, at Toronto, at Venice, at Sundance, and it's allowed me to travel the world. It's allowed me to put our stories out there, and that is what I do. So I stand here in front of you as a film producer, and I run a company called Sikhya Entertainment.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, Guneet, and thank you for joining IAmRemarkable Week. For those of you who may not be familiar with this event yet, IAmRemarkable Week is a digital experience celebrating the power of diversity, inclusion, and allyship, while encouraging everyone to celebrate their own achievements. Before we get started, though, we'd like to encourage all of you in the audience today to use YouTube chat to post your comments and questions to Guneet. We'll be reading these during our Q&A later on and answering all of your questions. So let's dive into the fireside chat. We're going to do a couple of different themes. So Guneet, I'm going to start with your journey. And if you can, how is your journey as a film producer, and what led you to the film industry? Was it always your dream? Do you remember a specific moment which made you decide to seek a career in the film industry or fighting for gender equality?
Yeah, so I studied mass communication, and I always wanted to be in an industry where I could work with a lot of people. I really didn't know how it will pan out, but I was fascinated by media. I think from childhood, I've been a storyteller. I have weaved in my own stories and told my own stories. Just the fact and the magic that you can take it to a bigger audiences around the world fascinated me. I started as an intern for my best friend's mother, who was a production coordinator in international films, and I was her photocopy girl. And throughout college, I interned with her, and I learned a lot on just being in an office that makes films. And that's the moment I knew I was still a teenager, and I just knew that I wanted to be in films, and I wanted to be the boss of that office, which was the film producer. And I just knew that moment I wanted to be there. And as you know, life grew and agency grew, and I was able to construct a career in this journey. I think there is a conscious understanding of stories that we tell. I don't ever want to take the audience for granted. I don't ever want to be in a place where, the 2 hours that people give us to consume our stories, I do reflect on what are they taking back. So that thought informs a lot of our decisions.
So from Das Vidanya, which was done in 2008, to Oscar-winning short film documentary called Period, End of Sentence, also in 2018, to the most recent Pagglait in 2021, what guides your diverse film choices?
You know, there is definitely a conscious effort, but it is also stories that just speak to me. And um, I think our choices define who we are, and what we choose. Anything that we choose to tell a story, it takes the next 2 years to 3 years of my life. I will be working towards that story, putting all the elements together. I mean, filmmaking is a collective process. I can't take credit for all the work. I've collaborated with some of the most amazing filmmakers and hundreds of people to and keep them, encouraged every day to show up and to be able to continue with our intention of telling the story that we are. So it has to excite us every morning for 2 years, till the time we finish it, till the time marketing is done, till the time it releases, till the time people start talking around the world and then talking about it. So I think something that really speaks to me that much is something that I'm ready to commit to. So I take my time to commit to a story, but once I do, I just want to expand its universe. I just want to make sure that everybody around the world knows about it, or as many people, and how is the best way we can make this, we can build this, we can, and we can take it out there. So um, I think stories have a way of choosing me, actually. You know?
Fantastic. During an interview in 2019, you said, and I quote, "The world doesn't prepare you for success. It prepares you for failure. Get up
Yes.
again, be resilient." And you've also been quoted as saying, "I own my own hustle, and I'm proud of my hustle." Would you like to share some of that journey and some of those moments that
Yeah.
got you to where you are today?
Yeah, so I think there is constant judgment. There is constant judgment on what it starts with how you look, what you wear, how you talk. There's so many layers of judgment that we're constantly ready to write off people. So I have
Mm.
been on the other end, being a very young producer in India. Film producers are people who finance a lot of movies, who come from money. That is just how the Indian film industry is built. I don't. I come from a very, very humble family. My parents and I used to stay in a rented house for $100 a month, in an apartment. So I raise these stories and I raise money for every film. So I've always been at a point where people are like, there must be somebody above you, right? Like you must be having a boss, right? I was like, no, I run my own company. No, how? So I've always been on. It's like, I don't know, that it's just how it is. I figured a way. I raise money. I tell these stories, and I've found investors, and I've made PowerPoint presentations, like any business plan, like any entrepreneur, like any startup. I've done that in the film industry. So I've always had that kind of reaction, and also being very young. So I think the world really, it's just failure every day, because this judgment seeps in, and then you're just struggling to stand back up. But that's where the magic lies. You have to just get up and keep going. The first film that I ever produced was a film called Say Salam India. It was a children cricket film, and we were planning to release it when India was running for the World Cup in 2007. But India actually released the week when India lost the elementary round, the first preliminary round, and came out, and no cinemas wanted to even touch the film. And it was my neighbor who had given me $100,000 as my first set of investment, and I didn't even know how I will ever go back home. So I ended up self-distributing the movie, booking morning shows in single screen cinemas, booking schools, filling up, getting a pre-commitment of filling up 1,000-seater cinema for $1 per child, and booking that entire cinema for $200. That show would be $1,000, and I would make $800 from there. And I ended up doing 350 shows like that. It took 9 months of my life, but we were able to make all the money back. And that is what taught me resilience. That is what taught me you just can't let the system tell you this is how it happens. The minute you say, okay, this is given, these are the cards that I'm dealt with, how do I go around it? That's where curiosity comes in. That's where you even begin having different kind of conversations, because why not? Who's stopping thought processes to excel. So I think there are beautiful ways of distributing films which have not really been captured. And over a period of time, like, with Lunchbox, like the treaty in India, between India and France, the treaty was signed in 1985. And I was the first one to use it in 2012. So there are all these structures available, but it is what curiosity leads you from one thing to another, one question to another, and as you find that answer, you have to keep moving. You can't just keep down and say, okay, this is not for me. Or I've never said that. I've just been like, okay, this door is shut. Why not? I remember I was when I was I when I turned 18, my dad told me you should be an insurance agent, and he put me in a life insurance school, and he thought that he will go sell. We were like extremely, lower middle class family, and he just thought that I will have permanent income month on year when my clients renew their insurance, and he thought he will get his friends to buy that insurance. So I went and studied and gave exams to be an insurance agent. I became an insurance agent, and I was just fascinated by the stationery. I was and I was just eligible to be an insurance agent. And my dad did the selling of on my license. He was getting his friends to buy insurance from me. Um, and the one thing that I took away from that insurance school was that you're actually going up to people, knocking their door, and saying, you might just die. Why don't you save some money so that your family can then be better off? And the social circuit that we inhabited, everybody just lived day on day. You can't imagine thinking life beyond this because you're just really living day to day. So the one thing that I learned from there, which has always stayed with me, and they taught us this in school, and it said, 9 people will say no to you, and then one person will say yes. So keep going, because that door of yes is going to keep coming. So you have to keep going. And that has become such a deep knowledge in my life, as you're financing independent films that there people don't know they are actors. I've worked with more than 25 first time directors, and they don't know their previous work to vouch on it. But all these films have been beautifully put out there and have built a beautiful business and almost an industry here of so many incredible actors, technicians, directors, writers. And it's thriving now with the expanse of digital market. But it all happened because I was like, I get excited on rejection. So I get very excited. I'm just like, okay, I'm counting my rejections. I'm just like, okay, ninth done and my 10th is coming. If you have to say no, just say no quickly so I can move on to the next. So that's how it's been my thought process to every film that I've put out there. I've knocked so many doors for financing it, for distributing it, for marketing it, for making it. And I'm just like, okay, you're saying no, that's great. That's it. Let's move on.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm so going to take that away. The 1 out of 10, right? And just keep going. Own that hustle. You have been voted one of the top 12 women achievers in the global entertainment industry by the Hollywood Reporter, and among the top 50 Indians changing India by India Today. The Hollywood Reporter called you the most prolific producer of a new wave of cinema. So what role do these recognitions play in your journey, and where do you go from here?
I mean, they're encouraging, definitely. They're encouraging, and very grateful for the world to see the work. But I just feel I just got started. I after 13 years of making movies, I feel I've just understood the business even better, and there are new opportunities coming all the time. And you. I mean, it's one thing that you build an opportunity, and the other thing is that there is opportunity lying there. You walk straight into it, and you're like, "How do I own it? What piece of it belongs to me here? And how do I make the best use of this?" So I think even the pandemic actually was, while it was hard on a lot of us, but we were at Sikhya able to tell to reinvent some storytelling. We did a detective. We did a detective series which was interactive, and we shot it in our office, and we sold that whole series, and it allowed us to keep our lights on, and it allowed us to continue paying rents. We turned our office into a set, and we had separate units shooting it. we got deep into podcasting, we got deep into short films. We, pushed ourselves away from long feature films. So one has to continuously, I think, try new things, and the recognitions help on the way, but they don't define us. uh, they just help us keep going, and opening more doors. So
Yeah.
here I am talking to you about this. So I think recognitions definitely help opening more doors, and then it is your journey what you do with that open door.
So let's talk about like a big recognition, right? So in April of this year, you were conferred the French honor, the Knight of the Order of Arts and Letters, the second highest civilian French honor to for your contributions to world cinema and the effort towards women empowerment. Now, this honor is one of the many proofs of Guneet's diverse work as a filmmaker with a diverse range of content and the invaluable contribution that you've given to world cinema. What did that moment feel like for you?
Very humbling. Again, very grateful. Like I said initially, I think India and France had signed a treaty in 1985 for co-production. I was the first one to use it in 2012 for Lunchbox, premiered at Cannes Film Festival, and both won awards there and followed a beautiful journey of putting it out in the world. And it's just so humbling to be recognized for the efforts, and for being able to continue pursuing the arts, because how many of us really get to do that? So I feel the French have been so ahead of the curve, and they're so in love with Indian cinema. But as Indian cinema has progressed, we've also become really, we've really been, just within the system. So I was able to break that system a bit, and structure it in a way that it allowed the story to also travel. Besides the script and the story and the direction was magical and beautiful, but the structure and the financing of the film allowed it to expand its boundaries. So definitely. Very, very humbling. Did not see it coming. I was just like, really, things like this also happen. So it's just, and then you just get back to work.
There's an awesome Instagram photo of you wearing that medal, and it was amazing to see that.
Thank you.
I Am Remarkable is really about finding your voice and getting comfortable with speaking your truth.
Yeah.
Now, in the past, you've said, you shine, I shine. And you also dedicated this recent French honor to every girl with a dream, saying, continue to dream freely and create fearlessly. So
Yes.
when and why did you adopt this motto, and what takes you so close to that goal of women empowerment?
It's deep rooted, actually. I have seen I've my mother is a gorgeous woman, and I've just seen her be so underconfident, always, putting herself behind, um, and almost losing her voice in the system. And I feel we've had conditionings that we've grown up with, and now is the time, with internet, with the digital expanse, we are getting aware. We're just beginning to get aware. And I think we are built in a world where we are told you're each other's competition, because there are opportunities are so little. But that's what I really want to break, because there is enough and more opportunities for each one of us. It's almost like when one woman or one person puts out their story, they open the door for hundreds of us to come through. And that's what has happened over and over again. And God bless my parents. I mean, i I wish they were here to see this world. I wish they were here to see how we discuss this and talk about it now. It was not like this 2 decades ago. We were not so aware. And on daily basis, we are learning self love, we are talking about mental health, we are talking about inclusivity. And that is the core of all of us and our being and our work. So it's just something which is very, very, it's something that matters to me. It's something that matters very deeply to me. And I saw that come to life with period end of sentence. It was a bunch of schoolgirls, 13, 14-year-old girls in LA who decided to put together a movie, who actually decided to donate a pad machine, and they associated with an NGO in India, and they were fundraising, doing yogathons and bake sales to get money for a pad machine, that they can
Mhm.
install one pad machine. On that journey, they thought, why don't we just document this process? And
Yeah.
if we can shoot a film on this process, then maybe we can put that film out there and people can donate more, and not just one, we can donate hundreds. And those girls sitting there, empowered girls in Hapur, in the little village in India, who were being filmed as the machine came in, and every day new challenges, raw material runs out, electricity runs out, then you need to get this. And I was just so happy observing
Yeah.
this. It's just like, you have to just dream and put it out there, and we don't even know what the universe has in store for us. So we are holding ourselves back majorly. We are judging
Yeah.
ourselves. We are internalizing all kinds of judgment. So how do we let that banter aside and keep moving forward? And magic happens when one woman empowers another. And when you see one person shining through, you're just like, okay, so many of us can also do it. It's possible. It's possible for us, from being from India, to be out there,
Yeah.
so does it from here. And I've been thinking about that, and I think moving forward, I want to tell brown stories for rest of the world, and maybe tell them in English language, which
Mhm.
has an even longer, even wider footprint. So and now is the time that it even allows us to do this. So how do we not be shy of our dreams, and how can we freely ask? Because we judge our dreams, we hold ourselves back, we're just like, okay, this is not for me. Maybe I'm not being, maybe I'll, we don't let the idea just get out there.
Yeah.
And I am an example of asking questions all the time, letting, feeding into the curiosity, feeding into that intuition. And it's okay to fail, it's part of life, but then it's okay to also stand up. You will just be more aware, you will just be more and another thing that I just want to say, that we have to also learn to be our own validation people, so we
Yeah.
keep giving
Yeah.
our validations to a senior, to somebody else, to another person in charge. I learned it the harder way, I learned it over the years, but it's just been, now it's a process where you're just like, okay, I can own it, I can
Yeah.
even hustler as a term was a bad word. It was almost like you're
Mm.
a wheeler dealer, and that's when I was just like, no, I own this hustle.
Yeah.
I'm moving the blocks. And you almost feel like every day you feel like this burden of expectations, you feel burden of reality, of lack of money, of lack of opportunities, of lack of expression. But how do we respond to it on daily basis? What are we creating on daily basis as our response to it? And you feel like in one day you've not moved anything, and then suddenly a month passes, and then suddenly a quarter passes, and then at the end of the year you're like, oh my god, so much happened. No, but
No
it is
kidding.
all that one plus one plus one that added up to
Yes.
the year. And over a decade, I feel I moved a mountain. No, but that's just one day at a time. Putting
Yeah.
yourself out there, and putting yourself out there, um, asking the universe to guide you, and the
Yeah.
universe talks to you. It does. Yeah.
Gosh, I hope everybody here is taking notes. I mean, this is incredibly powerful, and thank you so much for sharing that. I want to pivot a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about Indian Women Rising and your co-founding of this to uplift Indian women content, or sorry, female content creators across the globe. You've co-founded the cinema collective called Indian Women Rising, which
Yeah.
aided the run of the critically acclaimed short film B2 at the
Yeah.
Oscars. So, what was your inspiration behind starting this community? And what kind of platform are you providing to female content creators through this community?
Absolutely. Again, personal story. I did not have the kind of opportunities that are available now. It was very hard to make independent movies and to be seen, to be heard, and even when you actually feel like you won a battle by just finishing the shoot, raising the money and finishing the shoot, and you feel like, okay, I have achieved a whole, I have finished a huge assignment, a huge task. I was able
Yeah.
to see through this. And that's where the second layer of actual work starts, which is marketing and distribution. And that has been my biggest learning, that if you don't understand marketing and distribution as well, how far will your journey of creating the content take you? So and that is, there's a lot of lack of awareness. There is no government support. In India, we
Mhm.
don't get government support for content. There is no grants, there is no schools teaching us this. And that is where I felt I wish I had help a decade ago. I had films reaching out, being selected at the biggest film festivals, but I did not have the money
Mhm.
um, or the even the know-how. How do you go hire a PR? How do you, who do you contact? How do you even book hotels room? I remember in 2010 we were nominated, we were selected for a film at the Venice Film Festival, and those were the times when you used to call people to actually book an apartment, to try, and there was no days of booking it online. There were no websites to see. And we just knew it is Venice Film Festival, and I booked a large apartment. We wired the money, and just when I landed there, we realized that the film festival was in Lido. It's a whole island, 45 minutes by by water taxi, and that taxi is also expensive, you know. So I was just like, but it was supposed to be Venice Film Festival, so I booked an apartment in Venice, you know. So we didn't know. You made
Yeah.
that. So that, all those experiences, I feel like now that I have a voice, I have and my company is doing the work that they are doing. I was actually talking to Tahira Kashyap Khurana, my one of my co-founders, and I said, you know, we need to do something which just focuses on amplifying, which just focuses
Mm.
on discovering and amplifying. I think everybody gets to the end of making a piece of content. It can be a documentary, it can be a short, it can be a feature. They somehow find the money, they somehow make it. There is so much passion, resilience. It's beautiful. All first time journeys are just magical on how it all comes
Yeah.
together, and you feel like gold. You feel like a winner just reaching the end of your shoot, just getting those many resources. And then they're not prepared for the world to just reject them, and there will be a bottleneck for
Yeah.
marketing and distribution, and you have to then stand in the same queue. You were just like, I don't need you guys, you know, and you have to stand in the same queue for distribution because you made your film or any piece of content outside the system. And then you need validation of the system for acceptance and for distribution. And I said, that's where
Right.
everything falls between cracks. And I wish we had such structures, we had such systems. And that's when Tyra and I went and spoke to Ekta Kapoor and Ruchika Kapoor from Balaji, and they are a studio here. And
Mm.
even before we were able to finish our sentence, we were just like, we want to set up a marketing distribution fund. We, even before we were finishing it, Ekta was like, yes, I'm on. Let's do this. And all this led to actually Karishma reaching out to me, Karishma, the director of Bittu, reaching out to
Mhm.
me and saying, I need help. And I was like, I'd love to help you, but I just wish that there is a structure and it's not just one off every time. And that's what
Mhm.
led to Indian Women Rising. And we are here to support films, we are here to tell stories, we are here to take films and celebrate women filmmakers, and double down on them so that they can get more work, they can get more press, they can get more marketing, they can hire the best PR, they can be out there and not lose out on opportunity because of lack of knowledge or lack of resources. So
Right.
that's what led us to create Indian Women Rising, and that is our absolute ambition. And there are proper stats, you know, which the statistics say that less than 5% women in India are directors.
Mhm.
And how do we even change them? We change them by celebrating them. We change them by
Yeah.
celebrating their short films to
Yeah.
begin with. How does, I mean, you enter a room, how does it happen that a young man is okay to direct a $2 million movie and maybe a woman is not? You know, and
Mm.
that is that subconscious uh, way of responding. So
Yeah.
we came together to market so much that everybody talks about it, use our relationships and
Yeah.
all the social media to put the filmmaker out there, so that we hope over the next decade that stats changes and it really moves up, you know, and there are more
Yeah.
there are more jobs, there are more opportunities, and it's really the
Yeah.
least you can do right now. So yeah.
Yeah. You think about how many doors that's going to open. So yes, over the next decade, we'll be watching closely, and I'm sure this is going to make a massive impact. Hey, listen, if you remember when we met the first time a couple of weeks back,
Yeah.
and you shared with me that you're a curious person, and you're brave enough to ask freely. So
Yeah.
can you share with us how asks have opened up so many doors and possibilities for you?
Yes. So in 2010, one of the examples, in 2010, I was nominated for a short film called Kavi, directed by Greg Helvey, in the Oscars in top five. And I had just come off of a huge personal loss. I'd just lost both my parents. And being the only child, it was just very disillusioning. And I was born, brought up in Delhi. I left Delhi lock, stock, barrel to move to Bombay, and just figure out wanting a job in this industry, and whatever skill set I have learned interning at film offices in Delhi. And I was just like, I want to be in Bombay where the Hindi film industry is and the action is happening. And somewhere around that, I'd supported a filmmaker, I'd produced a short, and that suddenly got nominated in the best film. It won the student Oscar and got the best film. And I I just wanted to go there. I just wanted
Yeah.
to go and attend the festival at the theater, attend the awards at the theater. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the mecca of all us filmmakers.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have a movie visa. I was told always that you need to have a certain bank balance to get the US visa. I didn't even know where to start from. So I just wrote emails, and I wrote emails to all the rich people that I knew. And this was 2010. And the rich people that I knew was Richard Branson. I knew off. you've
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
you know Mr. Ratan Tata, and
Yeah.
just the biggest people around, and their EAs, their PR. I used to keep searching for their office, call their office, and tell them that, hi, this is Guneet Monga. I'm the pride of India. I have a short film that is nominated for an Academy Award. Do you think you can fund my trip? Just like, who are you?
The pride of what?
Yeah, I'm the pride
Amazing.
of India. Self assumed. I
I
don't
love
know
it.
how I had that confidence, but I really just wanted to go. And I just had 3 weeks to figure this whole thing out, to figure a trip, to figure out how we are going, figure out visas. And I never wanted to go alone. I wanted to take the boy from the slums who was the main lead,
Yeah.
Sagar Salunkhe. And I wanted to take my first assistant director with us who worked on the film. And I just kept
Yeah.
writing emails. I wrote to every possible airline. I wrote to every possible forex exchange, anyone that had international footprint. I was writing 20, 25 emails a day asking that, do you think you can sponsor? Do you think you can help me? Do you
Yeah.
think I just want to? And I had a very clear ask, just tickets, 1 week stay, and a visa, and to figure out
Mhm.
how we can help with the visa. And after a week of trying to write these emails, getting a lot of rejection, not getting a lot of responses, I just wrote to the president of India. And
As one does.
yes, just. And I
Yeah.
got a call from their office, from Honorable Mrs. Pratibha Patil. I got a call from office that, what is it that you're looking for? I said, I am the pride of India. Do you think uh, you can fund my trip to the Oscars? And do you think?
That's
And I
awesome.
didn't even ask. There's a style. There is an art of asking. You just
Yeah.
don't go in with your big ask, and on your first conversation, you so you warm up to it. They have to know
Yeah.
you as a person, invest in you and your dreams and your energy. So I just requested that, if she would be open to watching our movie, and if we would, I've never seen the president's home in Delhi, if we can come screen our little movie there. So she said, sure, that is possible. So I was like, if you send me a letter, then I can ask an airlines. I'd remember Kingfisher Airlines wrote back to me. I'd written to them, and they wrote back to me saying, we don't even fly outside India, but if you ever go but if you ever have within India needs, you can let us know. And I told them, why don't you send me an email or that time there was fax machine. Why don't you send me a fax? And I will then send that to the Kingfisher office and ask them for Delhi tickets, Mumbai to
Yeah.
Delhi. I took the whole crew to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And there we met many other ministers, and one conversation led to another. And there was screening held at another minister's house, Mr. Prithviraj Chauhan. He was the science and technology minister then. He said, let me host a screening at my house. He got many more ministers. And after he saw the film, he spoke to us, he spoke to me. And I said, sir, I really want to be able to figure out how we can go. And if, we can get an air ticket from Air India, if we can get visas. And it was done. And a journalist got in touch with me. And I was very honest about saying that we don't have the money to go. I'd love to go experience it, how this works. And the journalist wrote a huge article saying film selected for the Oscars but no money to go. And Cox and Kings got in touch with the journalist saying we'd love to sponsor the stay. So I think the universe has your back if you ask. And if you really want and need something, the universe really looks after you. And it's magical when that happens. We judge the process and we don't let it happen. So in 3 weeks, I was able to get visas for all of us. I was able to get Sagar a passport. He didn't even have an official address to get a passport.
Goodness.
To get a passport,
Wow.
to get visas. We were welcomed at the American embassy to say, welcome, you're selected for an Oscar. Just writing emails to everyone. And one thing, and that is the power of, I think, again, you shine, I shine. That is the power of putting more people out there so that collectively we can all take more space. Because
That's
it's there for us.
amazing.
Yeah.
100%. So, hey, listen, I know a lot of us are really anxious to get to the live Q&A. So we've got a couple of minutes left I really want to lean into this. This is around diversity, equity, inclusion. So this is my bag. In your 20s, you would wear saris and color your hair gray, like I do. Even you went so far as to pray for spectacles just to be taken seriously. And you were quoted to have faced ageism. So what were those situations or difficulties to make you take those kind of steps, right? What would you, and most importantly, what would you suggest to someone who might be going through something similar?
It's a very good question. It's all of us coming from our conditioning, not knowing enough, and internalizing our own take from every meeting. I just always felt unheard. I felt under expression. I just felt like my suggestions were not taken in a room, and I've had people just ask me, how old are you again? And I was 20, I was 24 when I started I was 21 when I produced my first film. And I was 24 when I produced Das Vidanya and moving forward from there. And 26 when I was doing Gangs of Wasseypur, which became a huge, huge cult. But while you were putting those films together in those corporate rooms, I've just seen people walk through me, not even acknowledge me. Like I'm speaking to them and they're just like, okay, this is just a young child. We need to indulge on millions of dollars conversation with her. And that's when I've internalized that deeply. And I'm like, how do I get noticed? So I wanted to be big in my size, wear double layer clothes, wear sarees, color my hair gray. If anybody ever asked me, how old are you? That was like the most dreadful question for me. And I would say guess. I would never say my age. I would say guess.
Yeah.
And they say, and this is me at 26, 27. They'd say 30s, 40s. It's like, yes, mission accomplished. But that was me. I'm still not 40. I'm still 3-4 years away from it. But
I love it.
But yeah, now I have specs. I have worn 0 specs to be taken seriously because that was my way of responding to it. Hi, Mirana. I will just answer this question. So the question is, did you always get excited on rejection, or is it a skill you learned? Please teach us that. Rejections are hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Rejections are hard, but I think it is a skill that you learn and how you respond to it. It's very important. The power always lies in the response. personal rejection or professional rejection, they can always be seen as a personal failure, or you start judging your own. You lose the lack of faith. I think that's where self love and faith comes in, and you have to just get back on track and just understand that how many days am I going to feel this way, and how do I choose to respond it. So the minute we change the response and we put the power back to ourselves, the rejection doesn't feel so bad, and you start again, because it's going to happen one way or the other. So yeah. Guneet, you've achieved so much. How do you choose and decide what project direction to take your life in next? What project and direction to take your life? I would say it's intuitive, and over the years you get better at these. And like I said, our choices define us. They describe us. At the end of the day, when we go, somebody is going to join dots and watch all the movies I was part of. I think about it. I think about that of what is it that I'm going to leave behind for people to watch, and what was it that I was able to create and be part of it. So it does help me choose wisely, not choose because movies are not a transaction for me. They're not just another deal to close and to work on. It's a part of my life, and I think when that passion and your work comes together, you're just like, what am I choosing next 2 years to do? And it's really important to me that the story is worthwhile, the story has some sort of impact. It gets me very excited. um, yep. Guneet, what do you consider the hardest moment of your career, and how did you overcome? Roman, can you hear
I
me?
can, and I'm so sorry. You're all gonna laugh, right?
I,
Because as this happens, right, my entire laptop is dead. I don't know what's happened to it. It is completely DOA. So
it's,
I'm on my phone right now, but I am back, and I profusely apologize. So either way, I'm happy to continue with the Q&A. But this is one of those things where the universe wasn't in my favor.
no, this is one of things, we come back and we reconnect and we start
There you
exactly
go,
where
right? There's always a way. That was a perfect. It's like we
tech,
planned this.
yeah, tech glitches are a part of life. It's fine. We move
Fantastic.
forward.
Yeah,
So,
indeed.
so Julian just asked a question. Can you see that on your screen, or I should just read it out? What would you consider is the hardest moment of your career, and how did you overcome it? So this is a very good question, Julian, and I just wanted to say, like I've had, I said, as I shared, I'd lost both my parents, and I just straight dived into work. That was my only way of escaping any sort of memory, grief. I moved cities, I moved lock, stock, barrel, and I just started making movies. And 7 years later, 20, 25 films later, lots of films at festivals, lots of love at the film business that I got globally, which is very, very humbling. uh, I just did not know, I did not have that kind of self love within me. And even after Lunchbox, which was a career high for me, I crashed. And I just dived into a lot of self doubt. There was a company that I was running, and I was asked to step down. And I just really internalized a lot of judgment, and I was just like, maybe I don't deserve it, maybe this was all a fluke, maybe this was all luck, that I was part of some movies that were selected at the Cannes Film Festival, and I was part of some movies that went to Toronto and we had all those premieres, and I really thought that I was just lucky. I did not give myself enough credit, and I did not give my work or my thoughts or my hustle enough credit. And while Hollywood Reporter is one of the most believed filmmakers in the world, I did not believe any of it. I just looked at it and I was like, oh, I just got lucky. And that is the judgment that was there around me here, unfortunately. And I totally crashed. And I had to, and I figured it was overwork, it was burning out, it was self doubt, it was grief, unaddressed grief. And that's when I had to unpack a lot of this. And It took me to couple of years. It took me a couple of years to come back and even to tell myself if this is what I really want to do. Maybe I can just do something else. It takes a lot from you to be able to tell a story, to be able to nurture it. You have to nurture yourself and learn to fall back in love with yourself. The minute self love happens, acceptance happens, we forgive ourselves for our failures. We figure out the judgment is not our definition, it is really somebody else's insecurity projected on you. Um and the minute you choose, again, you choose your responses better, you're able to be back. And I was able to reconstruct my career, myself, and be back in the business. And that's when I was a part of period end of sentence. But there were definitely 2.5 years where I didn't know how, and it was mental health breakdowns happening, and I didn't have enough resources or knowledge or even the money to hire a therapist. So I went deeply spiritual. I went back to my roots of a spiritual practice, and slowly I was able to get a therapist. I was slowly able to work through my doubts, my fears, and address that, okay, I'm dealing with so much grief. I feel abandoned, I feel alone, I feel unheard, and I have just been fighting so much for so long that that pause was much needed. So yeah, and that's why now when I stand here in front of you and I discuss this, I've been able to internalize it, overcome it, and that's when I can articulate it because I felt it so deeply.
Yeah. And it's so empowering to hear that, because I think we carry so much self-doubt in us, and to break through those hurdles is just it's so important to get to that place of self-love, as you mentioned. There's a question here from Sonam Bhutia, who says, out of all of your awards, which one has been the most which one has meant the most to you, and why?
I think all of them have been beautiful and magical. I think the first, when born here, the first film fair that we got meant a lot because it was more like for my parents. How much we have the first Indian film award that I got. But yes, the period end of sentence Oscar really was an inflection point in life, and I remember tweeting that, look, ma, we've put Sikhya on the world map. So it really, that moment was surreal. That moment was magical. That moment, like I could not hear anything. It was just like some beep that happened in my ear. And I was like, really, this happens? I
Yeah.
was in the theater. I was in the theater, and I saw all the girls go up. It was magical. It was just like I was a small part of this, and in making this happen and seeing this and weaving this dream together, I used to
Yeah.
tell the girls, saying, "We will go win the Oscar. You keep on the track," And I was telling them, "Why don't you write emails to everybody for sponsorship from your school, because you can." And they used to just they had also seen my interviews, and we were asking me all these questions. But yes, I have to say that moment was magical. There were shivers all over my body, and I was just like, "Oh my God, dreams do come true." Yeah.
So we have another question that's come in, and this is from Vailbav. I followed your Oscar story, how you carried a replica for years and you hustled until you won one. Two quick questions. Number one, having achieved this much, what motivates you now? And two, what's the thumb rule for success?
Weber, I had that little $5 one, where you get the best mom, best sister, best
Yeah.
friend. So everybody who would go to Hollywood Boulevard would get me like a best friend or a best producer or a best something, just to keep me happy. I have many of those. And I used to always tell my, in my prayer, I used to always be like, I have these $5 one. When will I get the real one? So I used to just always just keep asking the universe. Is I mean, stories pull you. Like I said, stories choose you, and the key to success is to show up.
Yeah.
If you just show up inspired every day, this is my definition of success. Because I had to internalize what success is, because even after Lunchbox, I did not feel successful. And that's the time I had to describe to myself what is my definition of success. So for me, if I wake up every morning inspired and I show up for my work, and I show up to tell the story, that is success for me. Just
Yeah.
that much is being successful. Because if you're not inspired to do what you're doing, and then your just day goes down, you can't get up, take a shower, start your day, be excited about what you're doing, then it's just going to spiral into one thing to another. And that is with all the money in the world. If you feel like that, you're not successful.
Yeah.
So if you just show up and stay at course, everything adds up. One day at a time, it adds up. It has to. It always does.
That's amazing advice. Thank you so much. We're going to check in for any more Q&A. Just waiting for, if anybody's got any questions, please. This is a great opportunity. We've got a couple of minutes left. Guneet, I'm going to ask a question, if I may. I will actually, before we do that, there is one that's come in from Ananta. Do you think that post therapy and having experienced a low phase in your life, did you become a more grounded and sensitive filmmaker? Great question.
I think post my spiritual practice, definitely more grounded in my emotions, more grounded in my expectations and asks, more grateful. And I think the Me Too movement really impacted me to be more sensitive, to even understand that there are, and the stats out there that there are less than 5% women who are directors. So such information out there, I was just like, what are we doing about this? So I almost feel like it's not about I anymore. It's about we. It's about so many of us, and only then one can expand the stories and our footprint in the world. Because uh, one person alone cannot do anything. I feel like we are here for each other, and filmmaking is like a tribe. So yes, awareness, therapy, awareness, and more conversation, and the social media impact does does an impact in empathy, and I want to be able to use my time on this earth to make some impact. So yeah.
Thank you. So listen, we're going to wrap that up. And I really, really just want to thank you tremendously on behalf of all of the IAmRemarkable team and everyone who's watching here today. Thank you for participating in our second Global IAmRemarkable Week. We hope that today's discussion made you think a little bit differently, gave you the courage and the energy and the strength to go after your dreams like Guneet did. Guneet, thank you so much. I actually look forward to staying in touch. I feel like I've known you for years. You've made this so wonderful, so special. You've created such a wonderful, safe space. And I just want to say thank you for your honesty, your openness, your candor, and your bravery. You're making such a huge difference in this world.
Thank you. It means the world to me. Thank you, everybody at Google and IAmRemarkable, Anna, Sonam, everyone. And thank you, Roman, for having me here. And I think this is just wonderful to share each other's life stories and life lessons. And that makes all of us remarkable and special. So thank you for doing this and having me.
Thank you as well. I just know that lesson learned for next year, have a spare laptop ready. But like you said, we try, and we overcome. So thank you again. And let's wrap this up, folks. Have a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe. And we hope to catch you soon.
Thank you.